Good morning. My name is Alton Reagan, and I've been asked by many people to share this parable of the muddy jar and how it come about. It was really interesting. I woke up one Sunday morning too early, and too early means I got plenty of time. And I love my morning times to drink coffee and read the Bible and be still. It's just my time. The house is quiet, nobody's moving. I just love that. But this morning, that morning, I could not read hardly anything out of the Bible. It just wasn't there. Pick up my phone for a Blue Letter app for Bible study, nothing. No devotions happening, no scripture reading, no song playing in my head. I'm just sitting there on a real still, calm morning with birds on the barbed wire fence, just nothing. And so I sat there for a while and just wanted to know, what is it? I mean, I'm wide awake, and I got my first cup of coffee, and it tastes good. And I noticed that I kept looking at this one spot across the room where this young man that me and my wife have tried to help so many times for so many things. Get him in a car, help him with a job, get him, working again, and get him back engaged. And he just had a lot of hurts and a lot of really just a bunch of stuff that happened in his life that was horrible. He didn't have any fatherhood whatsoever. His dad would be in and out of prison. Every time he'd get out, he'd go back in. And his mother had a drug house that she operated out of, and he had horrible, horrible stories. And I do know that there comes a time where you got to lay that stuff down and pick up your life and move on. And he was having trouble doing that. And I just kept praying for him and thinking, Lord, could you give me something that he could relate to, that he could tangible grab a hold of it and hang on to, something, Lord. And just kept looking at that spot. And I noticed that everything was cool, quiet, and calm, and something kept coming to me. I could see myself go in the kitchen and get a jar of water. My wife saves the good jars, and she puts them in Pacific Places. And so my mind I couldn't get those thoughts out of my mind. I needed another cup of coffee, so I got up and I went and got me another cup of coffee. When I'm in there, I'm looking up at those jars, and I think, why not? I'm sitting there going, if the Lord is trying to talk to me, whenever he told Jeremiah, go to the potter's house and I will speak to you there. Well, he had to obey and go to the potter's house. And when he got there, then the Lord would speak to him. So I said, well, it's not going to hurt anything for me to reach up and get a jar of water, or glass jar of water. So I did that and came back down, and I sat down with my coffee and kept looking at that jar of water, and I'm going, what in the world is there to that? And so as I was drinking my second cup of coffee, I realized I'd drank 2 cups of coffee and you haven't drank any water. So I reached up to drink that water and grabbed it. I was thirsty. And I drank that water and set it down. The minute I set that down, something rose up inside me and says, now go outside and get some dirt and put in there. And so I said, okay. And I did. And I put some dirt in it. And I came back in the house. And I set it down. And I looked at it then. And I said, now drink out of it. And I went, oh, Lord, I don't want to drink out of that now. I said, put a lid on it. I had a lid, put a lid on it. I want to make sure it's on there tight. So I put a lid on it. I said, now shake that jar. I shook it. It's all stirred up. And the minute it started stirring all up, I looked over to him. I said, that's what he does. He comes into this house and he gets everything stirred up with everything, and he won't let it go. He just keeps it stirred up in his life over and over and over. Well, man, I was excited that I had something to share with this young man the next time he came over. And when he came over, he started in again. I said, Kevin, told him the story that I just told you. And I handed him the jar, and I said, now shake this jar. And he looked at it and goes, okay, no big deal. I said, now, every time you keep that shook up, you keep stuff stirred up. Now, I want to show you, this is the original jar. I'll give you a comparison. But I told him, I said, Kevin, if you will let this go, if you will get past this, all the crap and the hurt and the pain and the misery of your life will settle to the bottom, and your life will start clearing up, and it'll become more clear. But every day you shake that thing up, it just keeps it all stirred up. He knew what I was talking about. And listen, there was something about that he was able to grab a hold of. And it was also something that me and my wife could literally grab in our hand and say, stop. It stopped arguments. It stopped all of the chaos. It stopped, we want peace in our house. But you got to have peace within to have peace in your house. And so now I've got to tell a little flip story on this, and it's kind of on myself. It's always good to give out advice. But what happens when you got to take that advice for yourself? What happens when you got to drink out of that? What happens when you got to shake that jar? What happens when it's you? You put those shoes on, now you're wearing those. I came in the house one day and I was so upset that I had a delicate matter that I knew some information about, that whenever I had to bring this to light, it would really clear something up. But the person that I confided in to do this used everything against the situation and messed the situation up and included me on the mess. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, I thought this person was my friend. I thought this person was in together with me to help the situation, not make it all bad and stir it all up and everything. And I was just so upset that someone close to you would do that to you. How dare somebody do that to you? And my wife just went in there and picked up the jar. She said, Alton, shake the jar. And I don't want to shake that jar. She goes, you've been shaking it for 15 minutes. I went, oh my gosh. And I shook the jar, and after I shook that jar, I said, well, now what are you going to do with this? Something new has happened. This is newfound information. I had a new enemy, a betrayal. And she goes, I don't know. I said, I think I do know. I've got to add some dirt to it. So I opened the lid and I added some more dirt to it, shut it up, shook that thing, set it down. I said, Father, and I started praying. It was something that I could focus on. Like Jeremiah with the potter. It was something that he could touch and relate. And how important is that story out of the Bible? How important is it for us to get past hurt feelings and bitterness and everything? And so when it had cleared up a few months, and this jar is about 3 to 4 years old, best of my knowledge and my wife's knowledge. I passed by one day and I was looking at that and I thought, you know what? Neither one of us have shook that jar in the house. It's been months and months. It's probably been 6 months, almost a half a year or something before that jar has been shook. And I thought, wow, we're making headway. We're making progress. And I come by and I looked at it and the Lord told me, he said, now, Alton, you do know you're not perfect. I said, well, no one is. He said, some of that dirt's yours. And I went, oh, Lord. And it really helped me to get forgiveness, give forgiveness, and also forgive myself in things, and forgive the lack of knowledge and everything else. So anyway, we've had this on our coffee table ever since. And I had a lady that came over and she looked at the muddy jar on the table and she says, I'm going to make me a muddy jar. And she did. She had a friend that come over with her son, and her son looked at that coffee table and looked at that muddy jar, and he picked it up and he looked at my friend and said, listen, what is this all about? And so she began to tell the story of how the muddy jar come about, the parable of it. And he looked at that jar and looked at his mother and he said, Mama, we need a muddy jar. And they said it together at the same time. So anyway, it has really, really blessed a lot of people. I would like for you to hit the word like on the video and share it. It's ministered to so many people. I went and spoke one time at a Christian meeting, and there were several people that wanted several muddy jars. And it does help. It does give you something tangible, like the Potter's House. It gives you something tangible, something that you can look at and get past your hurts and get rid of it and go on with the Lord. So share the video and appreciate it. God bless. Bye-bye.